Hey, how y'all doing? Let's see, can you guys see this? Lance, what's going on, my man? What's happening? Okay, first, my name is Tori. Actually a wholesaler and subcontractor. As you can see, I've been working today. Head to toe, still got paint on my hands. I've been painting a townhome for another investor who was he had to, I guess, evict someone, and he's putting some new tenants in place. So I got a call yesterday from a young lady who I'm about to start coaching on doing wholesaling. She says she's been actually wholesaling for about 6 months and hasn't closed the deal yet. So she asked me if I would do a scope on the basics for wholesaling. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I love my office. See this? I can actually write on the walls. I can write on the walls. I feel like a kid. All right, so if you guys don't mind sharing this to your followers, maybe you have a few followers who are beginners in wholesaling or in real estate. I told her that I would do a scope just basically on the basics of wholesaling. I see I have a glare. Let's see, maybe I can get rid of the glare if I come over here. Let's see. Y'all bear with me, I didn't know how to, I'm gonna have to write big, I see. Let's see. As you can see, I was actually training someone here, teaching them about how to get ARVs, especially if you're not already doing, if you're not a contractor and you don't know how to come up with repairs for yourself. Just basically showing him you can do after repair values just by using comps. You know, that's what that could be a basis for beginners, for people who don't know how to come up with repairs. 3 comps, high, middle, low, add them together, divide by 3. Recently sold comps within a mile, of course. If you can get it under half a mile, that's great. In the same subdivision, even better. But 3 comps, add them together, divide by 3, and that should give you an average. Use that as an ARV for beginners. All right, so I'm gonna erase this, and I hope that young lady is on the scope. She asked me to do a scope on the basics. So I'm trying to write big so you guys can see this. I appreciate the hearts. Thank you very much. Like I said, I was painting today, so I actually do this. All right, so let's start off with basic steps. Okay, first thing you guys want to know is that for real estate, the first thing you need to know is that this is a marketing business. Is that backwards to you guys? Can you read that? Can somebody tell me, can you read that? Is that backwards? Because on my camera it looks backwards. You can't read it? Okay, cool. All right, so the first thing you have to do is market. You can market for the properties or you can market for the buyers. You know that as a wholesaler, as a beginner, you should know that you are basically helping out buyers to flip properties so they can help out a family that's going to move into the property. Hey, how you doing? What's going on, Peak Mindset, the Hammer? Thanks for joining. I know you already know this stuff. This is for beginners, but thanks for joining. Share to your followers. Maybe the beginners don't know. I mean, maybe you have a few beginners. Okay, look. So the first step will be to market. You don't need your LLC to market, no business license, anything like that to market. So your first step is to market. And I'm gonna write this on here as 1A. Online and 1B would be bandit signs and 1C would be to market to a network. And what I mean by network is go to real meetings, talk to realtors, talk to, you can stop and talk to anybody that's doing any construction on a house in an area that you are working on. So we'll just say contractors. Give them your card. Give them your business card. Okay, so next, this is the first step. And I hope this young lady is on this scope because she asked me to give basic steps. I just couldn't do anything this morning. I've been working. I've actually been painting a townhome. So we'll move on to the next step. I don't have enough room where my camera can't zoom down, so I'm just gonna move on to the next step. I'm gonna erase this. Now, if you're marketing to buyers, what are you doing with the buyers? Oh, no problem. Appreciate that. What are you doing with the buyers? Why are you marketing to buyers? You're marketing to buyers to build your list, right? Because in the end, your buyers pay everybody. The buyers pay your fee. They pay the attorney's fee or the title agent's fee. Here in Georgia, we just use attorneys, but sorry about that. Someone was calling. They pay the attorney's fees. So I'm gonna write that down. Buyers pay everybody. They pay for the property. So that goes to the seller. So they pay the seller for the property. They pay your assignment fee. So if you're a beginner, you may not know what an assignment fee is. I'll explain. And that goes to you as the wholesaler. They pay the attorney. Closing costs. This is the only person within all of these triangles. This is the only person that doesn't get paid until he actually fixes the property and sells the property. So he also pays realtors. Because when he fixes the property, he wants to put it back on the market. So he's more than likely going to find a realtor to sell it to. Now you do have people, buyers that fix properties and they just sell them to other investors who may buy and hold or do other things with the property. But for the most part, when you flip a property, you want to get the most out of it. And a realtor is going to get full market value for that property for you. So The buyer also pays the realtor. And let's see, the seller, assignment fee to the wholesaler, the attorney, realtors. While the buyer is fixing the property, he's paying his contractor. To pay the contractor, since most people don't use their own money, they're using a hard money lender or a private lender. So he also is paying them. Hard money lenders have fees. They have stacks of fees. I've gone through a bunch of hard money lenders trying to get flip for me and my group. And every time I send them a property, they have different types of fees. So they definitely get paid. All right, so now you know that you have to market. You're marketing to buyers to build your buyers list. Why are you building that buyers list? So the buyer can end up paying you as a wholesaler. But I just put this up here so you know that your buyer is pressured because he's paying everybody. He doesn't want you to send him stuff that doesn't make sense. So because he's paying everybody, in the end he's paying everybody, and he doesn't get paid until he actually flips that property. Now, also, you're building your buyers list because you want to do what? You want to get a contract and sell it to this buyer. You want to sell a contract to this buyer. So you need to know what this buyer wants, which will be his criteria. His criteria. Hey, Mr. Buyer, I want to cash or loan better. Most buyers, most flippers are using cash, but they're getting a loan, which is cash, if that makes sense. Okay, hey, Mr. Buyer, I need to know what your criteria is so that I'll know what type of properties to email you, because I know that you're paying everybody, so I don't want to just send you anything. All right, so the criteria: beds and baths, square footage, area, meaning zip codes, and school districts. Because a lot of buyers base their purchases off of school districts. You have some that don't, but people that actually flip in order to get full market value for their properties, they want a property where a family is moving into a better area. Somebody that's moving out of an apartment, out of a condo, out of a townhouse, and they want a single family house to raise their family. They know they'll get full market value. These people probably have fixed their credit, saved up enough money to purchase a property or what have you. So the area does make sense for the criteria of a buyer. All right, so you have beds and baths, square footage, the area, which could be the zip code or school districts. He also may tell you, I just want brick houses, or I think in Florida they have block houses, brick, block. He also may tell you, I just want, the year built. Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, just want properties that were built 1990 and newer. He also may want just a ranch style house and no 2 stories. Or he may say, well, I just want a property that I could just paint, put some floors in, and maybe change out the toilet and be good. So Cosmetics, cosmetic repairs. This is the type of stuff that that buyer wants. And this is why you should build your buyers list. Now, I'm not saying that you just market the buyers first, but as a new person to real estate, to wholesaling, it's good to go ahead and find out find buyers first and then find out what they want, because it makes it easier for you to find properties that that person wants. To get proof that they are buyers, you can easily look them up. Have you purchased a property before, sir? Or can you send me a proof of funds? That will weed out other wholesalers, because you do have wholesalers who will kind of stretch the truth and tell you that they actually buy properties too. When in actuality, they could just say, well, yeah, I'm a wholesaler and I have some buyers that purchase with this criteria, you know. So next thing, just going over the basic steps. So we have marketing, then buyers. You marketing for buyers for a certain purpose. Check county records for the LLC. That's true. That's right. You can actually check the county records to see if they have purchased something. Check the Secretary of State to make sure that they do have a LLC. You can ask them for a real proof of funds, and I don't mean a letter from some of these not private, but hard money lenders will give you a letter instead of a bank account statement or a statement from CPA that buyer uses. That's a real proof of funds, a bank statement or a statement from a certified public accountant that buyer uses. Okay, so next, sellers. Now, sellers, you can find properties many different ways. You can find properties from purchasing lists. That's something that I do. Lists of absentee owners, which means they don't live in the property anymore, they don't have it rented out anymore, and they probably live out of state. That's what I actually look for most of the time. People that live out of state and they don't live in the property, it's boarded up. I probably passed by before, that's where I got the address from, or I bought a list and I actually look on Google Maps or something and try to get a street view so I can see it. Where do I buy the list? Shoot me an email and I can help you out with that. But I will tell you this, you can go on List Source and put in whatever you're looking for, and you can purchase lists from listsource.com. The only thing about that is if you're in a market that a lot of wholesalers are in, everybody's pulling kind of the same lists from List Source at the same time. So, but if you're like in a rural area or your market isn't as big as a big metropolitan city, then go for it. Use List Source. But if you shoot me an email, I have a couple of guys that get lists from other sources, mortgage brokers and asset managers and stuff like that, and I could probably give you that information for them. All right, so you can pull a list, or you can do what's called driving for dollars. Which means that you ride around on a day that you're not busy, maybe a Sunday, and you ride around in the area that you think that is good for you to resell. And real estate agents, yeah, that's a good one too, that you can resell, and you write down a list of properties you see that's vacant or you see that are boarded up. I'm gonna tell you another one that's good. When you see people's stuff on the side of the road, that landlord is probably tired of being the landlord sometimes. So you might want to find out who the owner of that property is and give him a call. He might be a motivated seller. So that's what you really want, motivation. Let me write that down. Motivation. You want a motivated seller, somebody who really doesn't want this property anymore, because you don't want to be sending mail or calling people that aren't motivated, because it'll be a waste of time, and sometimes that can bring your morale down and stuff like that. So you want people to, what about subject to? That's a whole nother scope. This scope is basically for beginners. I know other people on here already know what I'm talking about. They just watching me because they probably like to see me right on the board. But this is for beginners. I'm just giving some basic steps. If you weren't here when I started, I'm doing this because I had a call yesterday from a young lady that watched a couple of my scopes, and she said that she's been wholesaling for 6 months, hasn't closed a deal. I gave her a little advice on how to change up some of the things that she was doing, and she asked me to do a scope on the basic steps of wholesaling. So this is what I'm doing. All right. Yeah, subject to is creative finance, and I know exactly what subject to is, but that's a whole nother scope. So sellers driving for dollars, but you get the picture. Try to find you a seller, and you can also, as a beginner, you can also fill out a poster board, staple it to a stake of wood, and stick it in the ground, and say that I buy houses, give me a call, my phone number. And sellers will give you a call from that too. Just depends on what area you're in, what city or what market you're in, but usually that works. That works too. Get your phone ringing a little, if you don't have the money to purchase a list, if you're not in the area where you can just go driving for dollars, put out a couple of signs. I don't mean like just put out one sign. I mean, I put out, maybe 10 in a certain area on both sides of the street, so people can see it coming and going, and get your phone ringing. So as a beginner wholesaler, now you start off with marketing to get your buyers and your sellers. Once you have your buyers and your sellers, can you give me your email? It should be in my profile, Tory@successreigroup.com. And you spell success, I don't know if you can see that, SUXXESS, successreigroup.com, Tory, Torrey. All right, so the next thing, once you have your marketing and you have your buyers list and you know what they want, and you're pitching to sellers that actually have what your buyers want, the next thing for you to do is to get a contract. All right, so now let me explain something. When you get a contract and you're a beginner, you don't want to actually put the contract in your name. In most states, you do have to have a corporate entity to actually legally purchase a property without it. You can purchase property in your name, but it's best to do what we do with the corporate entity. So if you have a mentor, if you're a beginner and you have a mentor, that person is probably the person for you to actually tell to get that property under contract. Just say, look, I got a property, I got a seller, he's motivated. I need you to actually put this under contract for me, and you and I can do a marketing agreement. So you can still get a check because you and that person can do a marketing agreement. Why not in your name? I haven't done that, so I can't really answer that question. I haven't put anything in my name. Just liability reasons. I always have used a corporate entity. Even my first deal, I used my my LLC for my subcontracting business. I never used my own personal name. The only way that I could get a check in my own personal name was to actually do a marketing agreement with the other person that got the contract for me. Do a JV agreement or a marketing agreement saying that I found the property. He's actually going to put it under contract, and we're going to wholesale it together to a buyer. All right, so that's the next thing, get your contract. Once you have your contract, and it's actually in a corporate entity, it doesn't have to be an LLC. It could be a S corp or a partnership or whatever. What's the estimated price? I couldn't see that question. I'm sorry. Y'all might have to type those in again. So once you have the contract and it's signed, go ahead and shoot it to your buyers. I have a contract. Here's a house. Your buyer's gonna send someone to look at it. It's gonna send a contractor out to look at the property. So let me write that. That's next. That's the next step. They're going to look at the property. Now, most contracts for wholesalers, we usually tell people in our marketing that we close in like 7 to 30 days or something like that. We close quickly, 2 to 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You know, we close quicker than somebody that's just getting a bank loan. So in your contract, what you want to have is make sure that you have that stipulated, that the closing will be on such and such date, and that date will be maybe 14, 25 days, you know, somewhere in there. So within that time frame, you also have what's called an inspection period. And your inspection period is when you have your buyer send his contractor out to view the property. They're going to go and inspect the property, view the property, and they'll tell you if it's worth it or not. Once you find out that it is worth it, then you move forward. But if it's not worth it, that's when you go back to your seller, then try to talk them down. Mr. Seller, we found termite damage. Or Mr. Seller, the fireplace is falling away from the house. Or whatever the property has on it that the inspector or contractor told you is wrong with it, that's how you bring your price down. So, for instance, if you had it under contract for $50K, how long is the contract good for? That's exactly what I just said. You put on there whatever date you think your buyer will close. If it's 2 weeks, then you put 14 days, a date at 14 days. If it's 3 weeks, 21 days, 25 days. It depends on you and your buyer. So, so once that person finds out what's wrong with the property, talk back to the seller, tell them I need to bring the price down a little, and that's how you manage your assignment fee with your buyer. So because your buyer's not going to want to pay any more than you've already told him, and then he sent somebody out there and looked at it and it's worse than what you told him. So you have to negotiate with your seller and talk them down. All right, so I'm just doing this basic steps for beginner wholesalers. All right, next. After that, you have the contract, everything's good, you're about to close. You, as a wholesaler, have a responsibility, because I have heard many horror stories of people losing out on deals because some paperwork got shuffled around, the attorney didn't have the marketing agreement. So what I teach people to do is, you as a wholesaler, send in your own paperwork to that closing attorney for your buyer. Your buyer is already trustworthy of you. You found him a good deal. He sent his contractor out. Everything's good. They're about to close because he knows in the end he's going to make money. So he'll tell you who his closing attorney is, or his title agent is, or where he's going to close. Call them, email them, or whatever, and get their email address. Send in your own paperwork. The buyer may have already done it. So what? Send it in anyway. They'll have it from you. That's called CYOA, covering your own, So keep that going. All right, so once you've done that, you go to the closing table. You don't have to be there as a wholesaler. You don't have to be at. Can you also get an assignment of contract from the buyer? That's what you're doing. You're assigning the contract to the buyer. So if you're a beginner and you have a mentor and he has the LLC, that mentor will be assigning that contract to the buyer. But as a wholesaler, even if you have a mentor, send in your own paperwork. You need a copy of everything. You need a copy of that assignment contract and that marketing agreement that you did with your mentor. So you send that in to the closing attorney, you'll get a check cut. If you don't do that, then you have to wait on a check from whoever your mentor is. But that's up to y'all. That's totally up to y'all. Where's the blow? Man, go ahead on with all that. Let me see how I can get rid of you. Okay. Anyway, forget all that nonsense. All right, so, hey, how you doing? Nope, not painting anymore. I'm done. All right, so that's the basis of it. I gave you the basic marketing for buyers, sellers, viewing the property, getting your contract, and going to the closing table. You don't have to be at the closing table. Once they've closed, usually the attorney sends you an email saying they've closed, or you can call them yourself on the closing day and ask them what time you can come pick up your check. You can go pick up your check, and then you can, thank you for doing this. Oh, okay. This is a young lady I spoke with yesterday. You're welcome. You can go pick up your check, or you can have them wire it into your account. So that's basically it. Now, I'm a little tired, and I have some work to do. I have to create a video for my virtual assistant that we just hired. I'll take a couple of questions. How do you figure out how much you're gonna offer for the property? Appreciate it. Thank you. Y'all give me some hearts. For the property, let's see. Use the MLS. If you have a realtor friend, you can use the MLS. You can use Zillow. That's not usually always the best advice to use Zillow, but you can use a couple different other ways. Yeah, comp it out, G Wolf. Appreciate that. Find you 50% of the ARV. 50%? Oh, I don't think you'll find that too often. You may. I mean, it depends on the motivated seller. If they want to sell their property 50% and give it to you that cheap, that's fine. But what you're doing is when you give it to your buyer, you at least want them to make enough, which is usually about 65 to 70% of the ARV. That's what you're selling it for. That's what you're selling your contract for. Or at least you're giving it to them at 65 to 70% of the ARV, and y'all work out your details on how much you actually are going to make on your assignment fee. So that's pretty much it, guys. I appreciate everybody being on right now. I was a little late getting in the office from working and stuff, and Spoon DC4, I hear 70% minus repairs. 65 to 70%, yeah, that's what I was saying. 65 to 70% is usually good, and that way they can make money. Remember I told you the buyers pay everybody. All right, you're welcome. The buyers pay everybody, so they want to make sure that they can do that and still make a profit in the end. All right, so I'm gonna holler at y'all in a minute.